Hi there. Today I thought I'd show you a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc that differs a little from the normal style you see. So if you're looking for a slightly different sort of approach to Sauvignon Blanc, Te Mata's Cape Crest Sauvignon Blanc from Hawke's Bay, and this is the 2020 vintage of that, might be the answer to you. So how's it different? I suppose the point is that Hawke's Bay is in New Zealand's North Island. It's slightly warmer, and thus you don't quite get the same pungency to Sauvignon Blanc when on its own. So to create an interesting style there, they've adopted two approaches. One is to blend it with small amounts of other varieties. So this is predominantly Sauvignon Blanc, but has probably about 8 or 10% of Sauvignon Gris in it, which will sort of add a bit more of a sort of a greenness and a phenolic bite to the wine, and also there's about 4 or 5% of Semillon as well to add a bit of weight and richness and roundness. So the blend is different, and then to enhance those differences and to add a little extra complexity to the wine is barrel fermented and aged on its lees for 11 months in a mixture of new and seasoned French oak. So there'll be oak influences, there'll be barrel fermentation influences in there as well. Te Mata, historic estate, founded in the 1890s, has been run for most of the latter part of the 21st century by the Buck family. They've made a wine called the Coleraine, which is a Bordeaux blend famous for being able to age for a long period of time, and is probably one of the New Zealand wines that is most seen on the resale in auction. But with the Cape Crest, they're also trying to make a wine that will age. They believe that this wine should age 10 years or so. So let's see if it bears that out, shall we? I'm just trying to think what else I should tell you. Oh yes, the fruit source for this is from a region in Hawke's Bay. They have a number of vineyards, and one of the places they have vineyards is a place called Bridge Parr, which is an area of gravel, river laid down gravel, deep free draining gravel, and they've got two 15-hectare vineyards there, one planted in 1990 and one in 2000, so with some reasonable vine age as well, and they have red and white varieties planted there as well, but the fruit for this wine comes off those two vineyards. So let's have a quick look at the wine then here, shall we? Look, first of all, the colour is it's pale water white to green colour, really. There may be a tiny touch of yellow in there, but it's mostly on the greenish end of the spectrum. So smelling it, there's a real pungency there to the sort of very green fruit, very green notes there. The first things I think of are asparagus and pea pods, and then going through it there, I suppose there's gooseberry, there's notes of lime, and I think all that sort of pungent green, all those pungent green notes are actually being lifted. There's a touch of lime blossom there as well by some fermentation aromas. So there's a little tiny touch of sort of flintiness of gunpowder, gunflint, whetstone, struck match, that sort of notes. Just a hint of it, not a, but I suppose almost sort of giving you a sort of a note of seashells almost, and maybe behind all this sort of lifted greenness there's a touch of creaminess, but it's nicely harmoniously in there with the fruit actually, so it's not standing out particularly, and perhaps some of that, what I'm seeing as sort of struck match note, is also toasty oak. That's possible as well. So let's taste it. On the palate, the wine is bone dry, and there's really pungent, very crisp, quite tart acidity. That greenness is there again, it's there as sort of gooseberries. There's that something about the intensity of it that's very asparagus-like. There are limey top notes. There are lime blossom notes as well. Again, I think that's accentuated by those slight fermentation notes there. There are toasty touches, maybe a tiny touch of spice. But yes, it's that pungent gooseberry note. I suppose nettly is the other thing that. I suppose there is a cut grass note as well. Not a particularly heavy wine, you know, medium to light bodied. 13% alcohol. The alcohol is not particularly warm, and as a result, you've got you know, quite mouth-watering acidity coming through, giving a long, limey finish. Perhaps there are some of those sort of stony mineral notes, almost coming to a chalky touch at the finish there. But mostly long-lasting, lively, limey notes. And the mid palate has a good intensity of fruit. I think there's a fair argument to suggest that this would age for 10 years. And these wines do fill out, and they can become more sort of limey, petrol-y note, almost like some Rieslings do as they age. But yes, so a different approach to Sauvignon Blanc. I think a lot of it would lie alongside something like a white Bordeaux. It would be a nice pairing for something like seafood, oysters, that sort of thing. There's a slight seashell note to the wine that would complement really nicely. So yes. Te Mata, Cape Crest 2020 Sauvignon Blanc. Thank you for watching. Do join us again. Bye now.